The year was 2042, not so far, yet a lifetime away. In this world, memories were different. They were not just whispers in the mind, they became solid things, tangible. Like digital files on a cold hard drive, you could hold them, sort them, replay them. The past was no longer lost, it was cataloged, indexed, stored away in vast, silent servers, waiting. Kronos Corporation made it possible. Their invention, the Memory Weave. It sounded gentle, like a soft blanket, but it was technology, complex, unseen threads connecting to the brain, drawing out experiences, every sight, every sound, every feeling, transformed into pure data. They said it was for preservation, for understanding, for history, a perfect, incorruptible record of human existence. Or so the brochures promised in bright, optimistic colors. People lined up for it. Of course they did. Who wouldn't want to keep precious moments? The first laugh of a child, a final conversation with a loved one, the sting of failure, the warmth of success, all safe, all retrievable. No more fading photographs, no more unreliable recollections. The Memory Weave offered a kind of immortality, a way to cheat the erosion of time itself. The comfort was immense, but data was a strange beast. It could be copied, it could be shared, and it could be changed, silently, without a trace. If a memory was just a file, what stopped someone from editing it? What stopped them from deleting a line of code or adding a new one? The comfort began to fray at the edges. A new anxiety bloomed. What was truly yours? What was truly real? The ground beneath their feet felt less solid. Alara knew the code. She worked at the city archive, a memory archivist. Her days were spent with the lives of others, sifting through digital legacies, tagging emotions, cross-referencing experiences. She saw joy, she saw sorrow, she saw the mundane fabric of countless existences. She understood the delicate architecture of a remembered life. She respected it. She guarded these echoes. Her own life now held an echo, a deafening one. Liam, her husband, gone, just like that. An accident, they called it. A swift, brutal transport malfunction. No warning, no goodbyes. One moment he was there, warmth and laughter. The next, a cold void. A report filed, a case closed. But for Alara, nothing was closed. The wound was raw, pulsating. His side of the bed remained empty, cold. Grief was a heavy cloak. It smothered her, it distorted the world. Colors seemed duller, sounds were muted, or perhaps too sharp. Liam's digital memory drive lay on her work console at home, a small, unassuming silver rectangle. It held his essence, his thoughts, his love, his entire life. She hadn't dared to access it. The pain was too near, too potent, to watch him live again, knowing he was gone. It felt like a betrayal. His smile, the way he tilted his head when he was thinking, the stories he told, all locked in that tiny device. She was an archivist of memories, yet she was terrified of his. The irony was not lost on her. It was a cruel joke played by fate, or by something else. The world felt out of sync, misaligned. Her personal archive was now a source of dread, not comfort. Her heart ached with a persistent, dull throb. The official request arrived. Impersonal, clinical. Liam's memories needed to be processed. For the public archive, standard procedure for all deceased citizens. His life would become another file, another entry in the vast digital library. For Alara, it was not standard. It was a fresh wave of torment. She had to do it. It was her job, her duty. But her hands shook. Her breath caught in her throat. She slotted Liam's memory drive into the archival console. The system whirred. Lights blinked. The transfer process began. A progress bar appeared on the screen, crawling. Each percentage point a tiny hammer blow against her heart. She watched it, mesmerized by the slow march of his life into the cold machine, reliving their life together, second by second, in her own unarchived mind. This was a new kind of funeral, silent, digital. Then, an anomaly. A jarring red warning flashed. Segment 7.34b data integrity compromised. The message was stark, unemotional, corrupted data. In Liam's file? Impossible. He was meticulous. His Weave interface was always perfectly maintained. He understood the technology. This specific segment, segment 7.34b. She knew her husband's timeline. That was the day he died, the day of the accident. A new feeling pierced through the fog of grief. Sharp, unsettling. Not just sorrow now. A sliver of ice, suspicion. Why this particular segment? Why the moments leading up to his death? Corruption was rare. Targeted corruption? Even rarer. Unless it wasn't corruption at all. Unless it was something else. Something deliberately obscured. Her archivist's mind clicked into gear, overriding for a moment the widow's pain. Alara felt a cold resolve. Protocol be damned. This was Liam. This was his final chapter. She couldn't let a sterile error message be the end. She made a secure, isolated copy of his entire memory drive, away from the archive's prying network. In the privacy of her own terminal, she began to dig. She had to see the damage, to understand this flaw in his final moments. Her grief now had a focus, a question. The corrupted segment was surprisingly small, just a few minutes of recorded experience. But it was critical, the time directly preceding the transport malfunction. When she bypassed the corruption flags, the data was thin, wispy, like a photograph bleached by the sun. Key sensory inputs were missing, visuals were blurred, audio was garbled, almost erased. It was less a memory, more a digital void, a hole in his existence. She ran deeper diagnostics, forensic tools, software designed to uncover the faintest traces of alteration, and she found them. Subtle markers, ghostly fingerprints in the code, traces of sophisticated overwriting algorithms. Faint, yes, almost perfectly concealed. But there, someone had been inside Liam's memory. Someone with skill, someone with a reason to hide what really happened. This was no accident of technology. This was surgical, precise. A digital scalpel had excised something vital, or perhaps it had implanted something, a false narrative, a clean explanation for a messy truth. The official report said transport malfunction, but Liam's memory, even in its damaged state, whispered a different story, a story that had been forcibly silenced. The cold seed of suspicion began to sprout, dark and urgent. Section 5, Shadows and Shared Recollections. Liam had worked for Omnicorp, a massive entity with their fingers in every technological pie. He was part of the Advanced Research Division, and he was a lead scientist. Brilliant and driven, but secretive about his projects. Need to know, he'd say with a wry smile. Now, Alara needed to know. Desperately. His death felt wrong. His memory felt violated. The pieces didn't fit. The official story was a flimsy construct. She turned to the public archives, looking into Liam's colleagues. Dr. Eris Thorne and Lena Hansen, both senior researchers at Omnicorp. Their memories, or, well, the publicly accessible portions, were available. She searched for the week of Liam's death, looking for overlaps, for inconsistencies, for anything that might shed light on the darkness in Liam's own file. Her search was methodical, driven by a grim determination. Thorne's memory of a project meeting 2 days before the accident stood out. Liam was present, but not the calm, collected Liam she knew. He was agitated. His voice, usually measured, was sharp. He was arguing vehemently about ethical boundaries and potential misuse. This heated exchange, this crucial context, was entirely absent from Liam's accessible memory file. Wiped clean? Or maybe it was never there. Lena Hansen's public memory fragment from the day of the accident showed her seeing Liam leaving the Omnicorp tower. He looked hunted. He kept glancing over his shoulder, his face pale and etched with a fear Alara had never witnessed in him. A deep, primal fear. This image seared itself into Alara's mind. This was not a man heading towards an accidental demise. This was a man running from something, or someone. Alara worked relentlessly. Days blurred into nights, fueled by coffee and a growing dread. She cross-referenced every anomaly. The missing time in Liam's file, the altered interactions hinted at in his colleagues' memories, the fear in his eyes. A pattern began to solidify. Not random glitches, not isolated incidents. This was coordinated. A dark, intricate design woven through the digital fabric of their lives. Liam had been clever. He'd often spoken of digital dead drops, of hidden pathways. He'd left a back door, deep within Omnicorp's labyrinthine network, a failsafe, a breadcrumb trail. Using his old access codes, modified with a sequence only she might guess, Alara slipped past their firewalls. She found encrypted folders, buried layers deep, protected by code names. One stood out, Project Chimera. Her blood ran cold. The files within Project Chimera were horrifying. Blueprints, memos, test results. Its purpose was unambiguous. Memory alteration on a grand scale. Not just minor edits, complete rewrites, erasure of inconvenient individuals from historical records, implantation of false narratives, for corporate espionage, for political control, for social engineering, for silencing dissent. a tool of absolute power hidden in plain sight. The truth crashed down on Alara. Liam hadn't just stumbled upon Chimera. He had been part of its initial theoretical team. Then he saw its potential for abuse. He had tried to stop it. He was going to expose it. His accident was no accident. It was a calculated execution, a permanent silencing, and the tampering with his memory, that was to ensure the official story held, to erase his rebellion. The full realization struck Alara like a physical force. It knocked the air from her lungs. Liam, her Liam, he wasn't just gone. He was murdered, executed by the very corporation he had dedicated his brilliance to. His memory, the last vestige of his existence, had been desecrated, turned into a lie, a carefully constructed fiction to mask their crime. The world tilted. Reality itself felt thin, unreliable. Her grief, a constant companion for weeks, shifted. It didn't lessen. It transmuted into a cold, hard rage, a burning fury that settled deep in her bones. They had taken him from her, stolen their future. And then, with chilling arrogance, they had tried to rewrite his past, to control his narrative even in death. The audacity of it, the inhumanity. This was not just about Liam anymore. This was an abomination. But the sheer scale of Project Chimera was overwhelming. The documents implicated high-ranking officials at Omnicorp, shadowy government liaisons, other corporations. It was a vast network, a conspiracy woven into the very fabric of their technologically advanced society. Who wasn't involved? Who could she possibly trust with this explosive information? She felt utterly alone, isolated by the terrible knowledge she now possessed. This discovery transcended her personal tragedy. It was about the sanctity of self, the core of identity. If memories could be so easily fabricated, so seamlessly altered, then what was real? What was genuine? Were people living lives based on curated experiences? Were their beliefs, their histories, their very personalities, constructs designed by unseen puppeteers? The implications were staggering, terrifying. The foundation of society seemed built on quicksand. Alara possessed the proof, the encrypted files, the diagnostic reports of Liam's tampered memory, the cross-referenced anomalies. She held the digital key to unraveling Project Chimera, to exposing the manipulators, to bringing some measure of justice for Liam. His true memory could be restored. His descent could be known. It was a heavy burden, a terrible power. But what would be the cost of such a revelation? Chaos seemed inevitable, widespread panic. The entire system of archived memories, the bedrock of their modern society, relied on trust. If that trust was shattered, what would replace it? Paranoia? Anarchy? Would people demand their weaves be deactivated? Would they descend into a new dark age of forgotten history? The potential fallout was immense, unpredictable. Would anyone even believe her? A grieving widow? An archivist? Against the might of Omnicorp and its hidden allies. They would discredit her, call her delusional, mad with grief. They had the resources, the influence, to bury her and the truth deep. The system was designed to protect itself, to eliminate threats. She was a threat, a tiny, insignificant glitch in their grand manipulative machine. The moral dilemma tore at her soul. Expose the truth and risk societal implosion. Bring justice for Liam, but potentially unleash untold suffering on millions. Or stay silent, let the lies persist. Let the manipulators continue their silent work. Liam's true memory would remain buried, his murder unavenged. But perhaps a fragile, artificial peace would endure. Which was worse, a painful truth or a comfortable lie? Her own peace was already shattered. She sat before her personal terminal. The screen glowed softly in the dim room, the compiled evidence, all of it. Project Chimera, Liam's true last days, the story of his murder and the subsequent cover-up. It was all there, packaged, encrypted, ready to be sent. To the few independent news feeds that still existed, the ones brave enough or foolish enough to publish such things, if they dared. Her finger hovered over the transmit key, a single press. That's all it would take. The world she knew would fracture. Or perhaps she would be the one to fracture. Silenced, disappeared, like Liam. The stakes were impossibly high. Her heart hammered against her ribs. A frantic drumbeat in the otherwise silent apartment. The city outside hummed its usual nightly song, oblivious to the precipice. What would Liam have wanted? He had sought truth. He had risked everything for it. That was why they killed him. But would he want this? This level of potential chaos unleashed in his name? Did the truth, however vital, justify widespread fear and instability? Or was that just her own fear talking? Her own desire to retreat from this terrible responsibility? The questions swirled, a vortex in her mind. The cursor on the screen pulsed, patient, indifferent, waiting for her decision. The weight of it was immense. The future of memory, the future of identity, the future of truth itself, all balanced on this single, terrifying choice: to release the information, to fight for Liam's legacy and the integrity of all memories, or to let the carefully constructed reality persist. Truth, or a deeply flawed, fragile piece. Alara closed her eyes and chose.